All right. Let's see if I can hear myself. Need to put the headphones in. Let's jump over to YouTube. Testing, testing, testing. All right. I think I can hear myself. Great. Yes, I can, which is perfect. I'll let that run for now. We've got that going. And let's just prepare. Going live. All right. So just give me a moment while I get everything sorted out, and then we can jump into things. All right. And Drupal Commerce. Okay. Start recording here. Just need to do all of my recordings. Just give me a moment while I get everything sorted out. All right. Turn that off. And switch that on. Put on the record the right screen. Yeah, we're good to go. All right, we've got that sorted out. And finally, last but not least, switch over to here. And we are ready to go. All right. Oh, cool. Already 2 comments in YouTube. No, it's going to be a fun night. Well, let's see. Okay, so we've got this going, and now all we need to do is, let me just switch over. Please, if you have any questions, throw them my way. I'd be more than happy to help. Okay, there we go. All right, seems on Kick I always get the same spam. Same spam. Always talking about something. All right, cool. Oh, so that's recording. Awesome. All right. Now, before we jump into things, I just want to mention one thing that I've started up, and that is a WebWash premium community that you can learn more about just heading over to webwash.net/premium. What I'm in the process of doing is I'm slowly moving over all of the best live streams and adding them ad-free and also cutting them up. So you can see here, it's all been cut up into nice little bite-sized videos. And over time, my plan is to really try and get to a point where I do a live stream, and then over the weekend it's cut up and it's uploaded there. So if you want to learn more about this WebWash Premium, right now I do have a 99 € like a lifetime membership. So you just pay once and that is it. And then at the same time, you also get access to a community where you can come along and ask questions and get access to me for any of your Drupal or web related questions. I do have a lot of plans for this. Believe it or not, I've got a lot of great ideas. I just need to try and monetize it at this point. Yeah, but I do have a lot of plans of like doing a one-click install of Drupal sites, doing a whole bunch of stuff. So I just want to mention that. So if you want to support the channel and also all the videos, just head over there. All right, so that was the only bit of advertisement I'm going to do for now. We might as well get right into it. All right, cool. So hello, tonight we're going to take a look at how to sell products, well, basic products, using Drupal Commerce in Drupal CMS. Now, what is Drupal Commerce? Well, Drupal Commerce is a suite of modules that help you build selling functionality or e-commerce functionality in your Drupal site. Now, I want to specify that it's more of an e-commerce framework because as you will see, there is a bit of configuration involved. Of course, this is Drupal. There's always a bit of configuration involved. That's what makes Drupal powerful. Yes, you can do a lot of things, but you need to understand how fields work, how entities work, how all sorts of things work to kind of glue it all together. So a common question that I get a few times is, should I use Shopify to sell products or would you recommend Drupal Commerce? Now that's a tough question, okay, because that's a tough question. There are a lot of great platforms out there to sell products online. Companies have been selling products online for what, since the early 90s, a very long time. There is a standard when it comes to setting up a product listing, carts, shipping and things like that. So there are a lot of good platforms out there. So if you are trying to decide, do I use Drupal Commerce or do I use something like Shopify, because Shopify is one of the most popular ones, I would answer it this way. First of all, do you have an existing Drupal site? If you do, then you may want to look at using Drupal Commerce. Is your website predominantly used as a CMS? Are you using Drupal and a lot of its CMS functionality, and then you want to sell products? Well, then you could look at using Drupal Commerce. Now, if you just want to sell a product and you don't care what platform you use, but you just heard that Drupal Commerce is popular and you know me and you know that I talk about Drupal a lot and you're like, should I use Drupal Commerce? Then I would probably say no. Like if all you want to do is sell a product and you know exactly what type of product you're going to sell and you just want standard shopping cart functionality, then look at other platforms because honestly, there's probably better integration with them and it's probably quicker out of the box to get started with those platforms. But if you have a Drupal site and you want to integrate your content with e-commerce, then Drupal Commerce might be the solution for you. Now, Drupal Commerce does have a rich ecosystem of modules. And I was trying to search for a list of all the modules out there. And the best way to find it is to click on the company user account because you can see all of the actual modules that this company or the shared account uses. So this is a company, Centauro. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I think I used to be part of Commerce Guys, but then they kind of separated out. And this is a company that's behind Drupal Commerce. So you can see that there are a lot of modules out there. Now, some may be upgraded to Drupal 8 and above. Some may only be in Drupal 7 because Drupal Commerce came around, I believe, in Drupal 7 days. And so take a look at the modules that are available before you start building out your own functionality. So what are we going to build tonight? Well, we are going to use Drupal Commerce to sell a basic product. And I wanted to put basic in the title because this isn't going to be just a video where you will learn how to build products, how to handle taxes, how to handle shipping, and how to handle payments. Those topics can be 3 or 4 live streams in themselves. You could honestly do a couple live streams on shipping, a couple live streams on taxes, a couple live streams on payment gateways, because depending where you're based really dictates the type of shipping and tax and payment gateways you use. So that's why I've probably held off doing e-commerce based live stream because it's such a tough topic to handle. But tonight we're going to be focusing on one product. And here is my product. It's very basic. we are going to use Drupal CMS to sell a roasted coffee. Essentially, that is it. And our coffee is going to have 3 variants. And this is important because often when you're selling products online, you have product variants or product attributes. Every system calls it differently. But the best way to think about it is if you sell a t-shirt, you're going to have different sizes, or you may have different colors and different sizes. So you may have 2 or 3 different attributes to it. You may have a red, yellow, and blue color, but only available in small, medium. Or you may have a black shirt that's only available in extra large. Now, we're not going to get into complex scenarios with all sorts of attributes, but we're just going to have one attribute, and that is the roast level for our product. So we're going to have a single product called coffee with the attribute of a roast level where you can select if you want a light, medium, or dark. Now you can see my awesome Canva skills right here. I've done some great design work. I'm joking, of course. I just had to throw up some type of attribute image for it. But this is pretty much it. It's looking good. And so my goal is to create a product, create different attributes, set up basic tax, and that's going to be sales tax, so GST of 10%. Then we're going to add in shipping, and we're going to be using let me close this. We're going to be using the Commerce shipping module for it. And finally, we're going to integrate Stripe payments, and we're just going to set up test keys so that you can see a payment go into Stripe, but it's going to go in test mode. And now I'm setting everything up locally. And generally, when you do Stripe integration, you want the website to be online purely so that you can get webhooks back into your site. But we're not going to be dealing with that because, again, that's a whole other thing to deal with. Okay, payments. So let's start things off by downloading Drupal Commerce. So simply Google Drupal Commerce, or just go to drupal.org/project/commerce, and you do have a few versions here, okay? So you have a few versions here. The one I'm focusing on is the most latest, so that is 3.2. So I'll grab that, and I will jump over in my terminal. Let me clear that, and I'll type in ddev because I'm using ddev to run everything. So I'm putting everything in Composer, and normally in these live streams I have downloaded Composer, but it's important to show you one thing when downloading Drupal Commerce. Now, if you do download Drupal CMS and use the standard composer.json, you will get this error, and that's why I wanted to show it to you. So essentially what's happened is that Composer is a dependency manager. I'm not going to go into complex details about Composer right now, but it handles essentially the dependencies. And so what's happened here is that our composer.json that Drupal CMS ships with us, and I do believe it's also standard Drupal as well, it's got this minimum stability. So it'll only download packages that are stable, okay? Now in Drupal, you can have packages that are release candidate, like an RC. You can have packages that are dev. You can have, that are development. You can have packages that are alpha or beta. So if you take a look at this now, honestly, this is sometimes hard to read because it's like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, okay, chances are I know what the problem is. I'm not going to go through it, but you just glance through this, you can see that it's complaining about inline entity form, the fact that it's an RC, so it's a release candidate. It's not considered stable. But then what does really stable mean? Well, we do know because I don't know, maybe in Composer and packages, you have to define that. But here you can see, does not match your stability, your minimum stability. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, yeah, okay, I know what the problem is. So you can set that to dev, that works, but you may have to, for other packages, set it to something else. But for this live stream, it's just set it to dev. And if you run that again, it's going to go ahead and download it. There you go. It's gone ahead and download it. And you can see inline entity form RC21. It's a lot of release candidates, that's for sure. It's a lot of release candidates. You think at this point they'll just roll a stable release. All right, a few comments in YouTube. Hi there. Oh, you guys can ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. All right, so we have downloaded Drupal Commerce. All right, we've done that. And now what we need to do is go ahead and install it. So let's jump over here. Let's close this and we'll go to extend and search for Commerce. You will see a lot of modules here. Now, I've just downloaded the Commerce core, essentially, Drupal Commerce itself. It comes with a lot of modules. So if we jump over to VS Code and go to contrib, where is it? Commerce. Here on the left-hand side, you'll see that there are a lot of modules. So Drupal Commerce encapsulates a lot of the functionality into separate modules, which is the right way of doing it. But then the site building experience is that straight away you're bombarded with how many modules? A lot of modules. So you need to have a play around with it. But I do know that we're just going to go ahead and we're not going to install all of them. That's kind of the lazy way of doing it. Maybe you want to do it, but let's just go ahead and install a few of them. So we are going to install commas, cart, checkout, number pattern. Do we need number pattern? Yeah, we do. Why not? Leave that. Yep, select all of those. Store and tax. We're not going to do promotion, but let's just leave all that stuff on and go ahead and install it. Now, surprisingly, Drupal Commerce does not come with a lot of dependencies. Like, yeah, it comes with a few of them, but I would expect a lot more dependencies for what it offers. All right, so now we've got this new option called Commerce. You see right here. And if you click on Commerce up the top, you get this nice little dashboard. You can see these little inbox right here, which is pretty cool. Let's all close that off. And if you have orders, you can view them here. If you have products, you can view your products right here. Then at the same time, you have configuration, where as you start enabling modules, you will get configuration, you will get more options when it comes to the configurations. Now, straight away, you will see that there are a lot of bundle types. Now, this being Drupal, okay, there's going to be a lot of fieldable entities. So you have store types, tax types, product types, field item types, and so on and so forth. And all of these are fieldable. So if you understand the field system, that means you can chuck on fields to, you can chuck on fields to these entities, and then you can really customize things. All right, so we've got our first comment. Are you planning? Okay, go. All right, yeah. Are you planning to create a guide on how to create recipes and modules? Well, yes, when I get around to it. I mean, yeah, I've been playing around with recipes a fair bit, but I just need a bit more time with it. When it comes to installing modules and creating modules, I do have a video on Drupal module development. So there should be a video about that. But recipes, well, recipes keeps kind of changing. That's the thing. No, it's not off topic. Ask your questions. Doesn't matter. Just please. Nothing's off topic here. Well, okay. I don't I shouldn't have said that, but no, it's not off topic. It's a great question. I do want to do one on recipes, but the APIs always change. Every time I learn it, I would like spend a fair bit of time learning it. Then I come back to it like a month or two later, and it's like, okay, well, then it's changed the recommendation of way to do things. I feel like the API is just all moving around. But no, don't worry about your off-topic question. Just send your questions over. I love answering Drupal questions and also web development questions as well. But yeah, if you want to learn about Drupal module development, I do have videos on that. So just check out the live stream. Now, the first thing we need to do to get started is we need to create a store, okay? Because Drupal Commerce has this concept of not just having a single shop on your site. You can actually have as many stores as you want. And that's why you have these stores here and you have these store types. So let's go ahead here and just create a basic store. And I'll call this one, what are we going to call it? Let's call it coffee shop. I'll call this one, yep, call it admin Ivan. And I'll set the time zone to UTC. And I'll set this to Australia because we're going to be dealing with taxes and things like that. And I'll just give it an address of that in 2000. Okay. And before we do anything else, let's also, well, let's select US dollar for now. And that looks okay. But, okay, so we've created our store at this point. Because the good thing is that you can actually use Drupal Commerce to build a custom platform that we can have multiple stores selling products. And that's the thing about Drupal Commerce. As I mentioned in the intro, if you're looking for basic e-commerce functionality, that's been done, okay? I would recommend to use something else, okay? But if you want to build a custom e-commerce platform or like a custom e-commerce solution, then Drupal Commerce may be the solution because you just get a lot more flexibility, but you need to set it up. Okay, that's the most important thing. Now, one thing we will change in our shop is that the default currency is US dollar. Let's change it to Australian dollars. Now we can go back to configuration, currencies, and let's click on add currency. And here you can see all of the available currencies, but I'll choose Australian dollars and then click on add. And then if you edit the currency, you can adjust a few more things here, but we'll just keep this as it is. And then if we go back to configuration, stores, and let's edit our coffee. Oh, let's call it coffee shop. Just select Australian dollars. There we go. Okay, save, and we're done. All right, so we've created our shop and we have set our currency. Now we need to organize and create our product. So let's go back to configuration. And you'll see here, we have a few options here. We have product attributes, product types, and also we have product variation types. So first, let's go ahead and set up our product attribute because remember, we are selling a bag of coffee and we want users to select the roast level. If it's medium, if it's light roast, medium roast, dark roast. So if we click on product attributes, let's click on also add attribute and we'll have a select list so that a user can select a select list on it. But before we do that, I think we need to, let's go back. Let's first create our product type. So let's click on here. And by default, we do have a product type called default, but let's create one called coffee. So we'll call this one coffee and we'll leave everything as it is and click on save. And that's it. Okay, we don't have to do anything else. Then if we go to configuration and click on attributes and then click on add product attributes, now we can select our variation type because this variation type references the variation type here. However, you may have noticed that we didn't actually create a variation type. Well, when you create a product type, it automatically creates a variation type. If you come in here and select create a variation type. So essentially now I understand this can be a little confusing at first, and I do recommend that you just have a play around with it. Essentially, a product has to have at least one variation. So when you create a product, you will create your product and you'll add a title and a description, and then you create your variation where you put in your label, your SKU or SKU, and then your actual price. And then you can define your multiple variation types. At first, yes, this may be a little confusing. So just be aware of that. So let's go back here and let's create our attributes. So this one will be called roast level, and we'll make it a select list and we'll add it to our variation. And now what we can do is add in our, what is it? Light roast, medium roast, and dark roast. And you can also go ahead here and just reorder things, okay? You can adjust it, you can add it to multiple variations, and this just means that on the product page, you will get a select list. And then click on save, okay? So we've done that. And now what we need to do is, let's go ahead. Let's go back to commerce and configuration. And if we click on product and coffee, and we'll call this one top coffee, the best coffee. And click on save and add variations. Now we can add in our variations here. So these are the different options. So let's go ahead and add in, what will this one be? This one will be called, let's call this one. And we'll call this one light roast, and I'll just copy paste this. It's nice and quick. This one will be $10, and the roast level will be light. Then the second will be medium. Did I spell that correctly? Yes, I did. And that'll be 20. And what's this? Medium. And let's also put in dark. Okay. So we've added everything in. Add in a SKU. And that's going to be 30 dark. All right. Perfect. So we've added in our options here. And now if we click on view, we can see our actual product right here. So we have product /1. And when we select medium, you'll see that the price changes. And we have dark there, and that's for 30 as well, for $30. Very expensive. I have no idea why the light roast is $10 and the dark roast is 30, no idea. But you know, coffee these days, just like everything with the, what is it, cost of living crisis, everything's expensive these days. Let's continue building out the variation, the product variation, and let's put in an image because, you know, I did work hard to build out these awesome product images. And also we'll add a bit of copy to it as well, which I may or may not have used AI to generate. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back and we'll go to, what is it? Configuration, products. Let's go to our variation type. And you can straight away see that we do have manage fields, manage form display, and manage display. So this is fieldable. So we can go ahead and chuck in as many fields as we want. All right, well, we've got a comment on, where is it? There we go, got a comment on the LinkedIn. All right, hello, hi there. Hi. Just have to check that out. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining. So as I mentioned, these variations are fieldable, and that's a good thing because in Drupal land, if you understand fieldable entities, then a lot of Drupal starts to make sense. Okay. So all we need to do, if we want to add a description and an image to the variation type, what do you think we need to do? Well, we just need to add a media field for the image and a formatted text field. Or if you don't want to use a WYSIWYG editor or like CK editor, you can add in any type of field. And that will simply be displayed on the product page. So let's go ahead and go to Manage Fields. And let's add in a formatted long description. Can never spell that. Let's call it formatted long. Select content under text formats, and we're done. Now let's also put in a media field. I'll call this one featured. And this is going to be image, and hit save. And if let's move this around so that it is above, well, let's put roast level in between. So this is on the manage form display. And now if we go to, where is it? Well, let's refresh that. Go to products, edit. And so here we see the actual title and the body field, but this is just for the product display. Then up the top, on the top right, this is a ginism. Okay, that didn't sound right. This is a gin customization where you do have the tabs hidden on the right-hand side. I do believe I remember seeing an issue on Drupal.org because gin is moving over to Drupal core in 11.3, that they do want to change the way this kind of handles things, because I do feel like, I don't know, like I feel like we've lost the tabs. It's good to have the tabs. That's my opinion. Anyway, so if you click on variations, now you can see all your variations right here. And if we click on light, we should see our featured, roast level, and description in that order, because we have adjusted the manage form display. Because again, just think of this as a content type, and that's it. It's the same thing. Okay, we have our featured and we have our roast level. So what I'm going to do, click on add media. I'll find light, and I'll call this one light as the alternative text. Insert that in, and let me put in some text, which I, of course, wrote by hand. They are roasted just enough to highlight the beans' origin characteristics. Anyway. All right, cool. Done that. Next one. Let's add in medium roast. And this one's going to be called medium. Hit save. Save there. Oh, sorry. Let's go back in. Come on, Ivan. Pay attention. Pay attention. Have to put in a description. Right, this one is a balanced and smooth coffee with a rich body and less acidity than a light roast. Oh, see, interesting. So the lighter roast, less acidic. No. So if it's a light roast, it means it's more acidic. Expect notes of caramel, chocolate, and nuts. All right. And the dark roast. There we go. Put the dark roast. Put that in there. Yep. And finally, let me copy this over. And I'll paste in this bit of coffee. This bit of copy right here. Bold and intense. Okay. See, I was even thinking you could have another variation or another attribute where you define how coarse you want the coffee grinded. So you may want coffee beans, you may want to grind it, you may want to grind it as a fine for certain machines. You may want to grind it a bit coarser. I know myself, I've got what is it? Stovetop mocha, the Bialetti mocha coffee pot. And recently I've noticed that the level of coarseness in the coffee really does affect the coffee, because those machines only produce, they don't produce that much pressure. So the coarser the coffee, the more taste you get out of it. That's one thing I've learned recently, because a few times I've drank the coffee and I'm like, this is just weak. I can't even taste it. And I've got a 4-cup one, which means I can put in a lot of coffee into it. But just because I've got a 4-cup mocha espresso machine doesn't mean I drink 4 cups of it, but I put actually 4 scoops of coffee in it. That's too much coffee. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So you could have an attribute where you have even the coarseness of the grind as an option as well. All right, enough coffee talk. Let's get back to the product page. So now we have here the coffee. We've got the description and the featured image. Let's just quickly fix this up. Let's go to Manage Display, because what we can do is we can adjust. So the pricing is here. Let's leave the pricing as it is. Well, let's put it inline, and I will put the featured image above, and let's hide it, and also hide the description label. And I'll edit this, and let's make this a little smaller. I think it's a bit too big. Let's see what square is. Wait, what attribute is this? I have no idea what attribute this is. Well, where is that? Too many pop-ups. Give me a moment. What is that? 3x4 or 4x3? It's one of them. Wait a minute. 4 by. Anyway, let's go medium. Small. Nah, let's go medium. It's either 3x4 or 4x3. Say that 10 times. Why is it so much bigger? Give me a moment, please. Let me fix it up. And make that a small. And refresh. There we go. That's better. So you can see, if you want to adjust the look and feel of the variations, well, you can do so just through the Manage Display. And I should also mention that you can use Layout Builder. So anything where you modify your formatters, any type of system, like if you're using UI Suite, which I highly recommend, check it out, which is a design system for Drupal. If you are using Layout Builder, if you are using, and now I'm future-proofing this video, if you're using Drupal Canvas, which is going to be out soon, maybe when you're watching this, eventually it will come out. You can just modify the look and feel using all of those things. And yeah, you can just modify the display, and it will be then just designed whichever way you want. So here we've got everything set up. And before we move on, let's do a bit more site building. Let's add a link up the top here, and also something into the sidebar as well. So what I'm going to do is let's go to Structure, Menus, Main Nav, and let's add in a new menu right here. And I do know that this product is product/1. You can see here, product/1, and we'll call this one coffee. Put in a slash, product1. Now, be aware, if you do this, it's going to complain about it, that it's not a link. So you need to put in a slash to begin with. And let's move that up. Let's hit save. And if we go home, you can see our product, our coffee product is right there. Okay. Now what we need to do is go to block layout, because I want to add the cart into the sidebar. Now we can easily do that by going down all the way to sidebar. And then you have cart here. And let's add this to the coffee product type. Block visibility settings are a pretty cool feature of just Drupal in general. And this is used in a few sections of Drupal Commerce, where you can just control specific visibility settings. And this is most important for blocks. So right now, I've configured it to only display this cart in the sidebar if you are on the product page. And let's click on save. If we go to the home page, we can't see it there. If we go here, we can't see it. But if we click on cart, we do get this very basic cart here on the right-hand side. So let's go ahead now and start testing things. But before we do that, let's not go do that. What we need to do is we need to set up a test payment gateway. And so what I've done, let's go here, payment. Make sure you have the commerce payment example set up. That's going to help you. And then you want to go to configuration and then payment. And then click on add, then click on add payment here and just select example on site. And I'll call this one test payment. This is good for testing. And you want to collect billing information. And then for API key, you can put in whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. And as I mentioned with the visibility settings, you have similar functionality right here. So you can control exactly where this payment type can be used. You can have specific payment types for customers, or if their billing address is something else, is something custom, or if they select a specific product. There's just a lot you can do. And at the same time, like, don't get me wrong, this is amazing. You can do a lot of things. And from a Drupal standpoint, yes, it makes sense. But I can understand if you're a site builder and you're just getting into Drupal, you might be a little overwhelmed. So take your time or just ask questions and come to these live streams. Or even better, and I'm showing my selling side, join the WebWash premium community and get access to the forums. There you go. Doing a bit of a plug right there. Let's just set this stuff up, click on save, and now we have a payment gateway. And what I'll also do is I'll create one test user account so we can test everything. So I'll call this one test commerce. Okay, test user. And call this one test. All right. So this has been set up. Now I'll click on, all right, what's happening here? The following. All right, fine. What? You can't have an underscore. Okay, whatever. All right, done and dusted. All right, let's now open up a incognito. I'll pop these to the side because I need access to them. And what we'll do is go and grab this and we'll log in. What is it? Test user and test. Test user, not user, test. And we're logging in. All right, we're okay. Get an access denied because we're on the wrong page. All right. So now what we can do is let's go through the process. Let's go through the actual workflow of purchasing something. So you come to my great blog post about coffee. Come along in here, click on coffee, and you can see the different roasts. You can select the different colors. Okay, let's go for a medium roast and click on add to cart. Then here we have this cart right here, and we can click on the cart. We have the option to remove it, and we have the option to increase it as well. We can also increase the quantity. Now, I should mention, this is important, you can modify the look and feel of this as well. So again, if we come back here, so on the product variant, if you come down to display settings, you have cart and summary. So if you want to modify what the variant looks like on the cart, you enable the cart option and you go ahead and modify it. The summary will be used in the next few steps. So you can really customize what the variant looks like on the product, when it's in the cart, and also when it's summarized as well. So let's go back here. So what we can do, well, let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's turn on cart. and click on save. And now, if we click on cart, let's put in a trimmed version of, say, I don't know, 100. There you go. We've done that. And now if we come along in here and refresh, you'll see now we have less content right here. If we go back to the coffee page, it's still the same, okay? The medium roast is still the same, but if we go into the cart, it is smaller. We can take things one step further and let's just make this, can we make this really, really small? Probably not. Well, actually, are we on the cart? Yes, we're on the cart. Let's try media. And come along in here. All right, that's even smaller. Oh, that's showing that stuff. Well, actually, let's change this to this one. Thumbnail. Oh, there we go. That's what I want. I want this really small. And then you have a nice little small version right there, okay? You can see that. Now, we can go ahead and increase our quantity and click on update. Okay, we can do that. And you can see that here the price changes as well. Then if we go to checkout, all right, let's fix this up now as well. So this summary, so this is now using the summary view mode right here. Let's go to default, click on summary, click on save. Now we go to summary, change this, and let's change this to thumbnail. Let's just put that trimmed 100 because that is really squashed up. There you go. It's much nicer. And now what we can do is fill in our details. Ivan test, put in our fake information. 123 Fake Street. And I'll put in a postcode. Click on review. Yes, everything's looking good. And we can see here our order summary and we can click on complete. All right. So now we've gone through the process of the payment and just imagine we've done all that. Then we go into my account and we do get these payment methods. So there are our credit cards and we also get orders as well here. We can see our order. You can see our details right here. Now, if we jump over to here, we can go into the backend. We can go to orders. We can see our order right here and we can click on view. And you can see a nice little summary here on the right-hand side. And if you click on the options up the top here, you can see payments and you can see the available payment right here. And then once we get shipping, that will also be available here on the right-hand side. So you can come along in here and process and just simply process the order. So at this point, we've created a product variants, attributes. We've also gone through the process and also put in a test payment. Now let's do the not so fun part of dealing with taxes. Now, I should mention this. I am not a certified accountant. Please work with your accountant before you do any type of tax system. I'm going to keep this tax part pretty simple. All I want to do is throw on a sales tax, which is a GST. So in Australia, you need to put a 10% sales tax on pretty much, well, most things. So I'm going to keep it simple. If the merchant, which is the seller, and the billing address is also in Australia as well, it's going to throw on a 10% tax. Now, again, I'm just going to keep this simple. If you want to deal with all your custom tax stuff, there's a lot of things you need to deal with, but I want to just keep it simple for this stream. So all we need to do to set up a tax system is go to configuration and then go to tax types and click on add tax. And I'll call this one GST. And I'll leave it set to custom. And then the tax rate will be GST and it will be 10%. And then under territory, I'll select Australia. And this is important. The tax type will be used if both the customer and the store belong to one of the territories. So you can add in multiple territories. And then click on save. Now let's go back to configuration. And we need to go to our store. Because what we need to do is we need to, let me switch myself over to the left-hand side, because on the right-hand side here, you can see here that there is tax settings. So let me search for Australia and save it. Okay, there we go. Now I can switch myself back. With the power of editing, I've moved myself to your, I don't know what you're looking at. Wait, no, that way. No, that way. No, this, because yeah, I think this is mirrored that way. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so now we have set everything up, and the only change you need to do is to make sure that the tax setting is set correctly. And now if we come back here and let's purchase another item. And let me just double check a few things. Yep, everything's okay. And if we purchase another coffee, let's now go for the darker roast because we like it predominant. We like our coffee to be predominantly acidic. That's what it says right here. And of course, it's going to add GST straight away. But if we go to checkout and let's change our address. Let's change it to the States. And I'll put in the city here. And honestly, the only postcode I know is 90210. That's because what was it? That was that TV show. It's the only one I know. I've used that so many times. All right, so we've done that. Then we click on review. I know we need to add this in. And continue. And now because our billing address has changed, you'll see that the GST has been removed. Okay, it has been removed right now. But if we edit this and then switch this, so if we add another address, so let's just add in, and this is we'll call this Fact Street. All right, and we add this one in, and this is saved to our, I have to add always the CVV number. And now we do get GST added on. You can see here that it is added on because it's powered by this actual address right here. And then we'll go ahead and save it, okay? So that's a very basic version of setting up taxes. Now, as I mentioned, taxes. Yeah, it's a huge thing. There is a massive sub-industry of automating, and figuring out your taxes, because I know in the States, every like in the United States, every state has their own sales tax. I know in the EU now, because I'm living in the EU and I do have a EU company, you have to deal with VAT. And that's a huge thing. And so there's a lot of stuff you can do to set things up. And there are services out there that offer all this type of tax processing and things like that. Even Stripe offers tax processing. So it's a thing you really need to think of how are we going to, how you're going to use it and how you're going to implement it. But I just want to mention that, yeah, you can set up multiple. If you come along in here and go to tax types, say that 10,000 times, tax types. Click on edit. You can see that you do have a lot of options when it comes to taxes and things like that. Of course, the UK has their own VAT, Swiss, Norwegian, EU, Canadian sales tax, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff like that. So at this point, again, let's just do a recap. We've created the products, we've created the variants, we've added a test payment, we've added the tax, and now we need to add in shipping. Because, of course, I purposely chose to sell a physical product because you need to deal with shipping. Now, shipping is similar to setting up taxes. Now, every company does shipping differently. It depends where you're based, where you're shipping from, where you're shipping to. It can, you might have custom shipping requirements where you have a certain package be used if there's only one certain product in the order. But as soon as you have 3 products of the same type, then you can get cheaper shipping because you use a different packaging. There's so many permutations in shipping that it is not funny. Honestly, it is not funny. Like, I've worked on e-commerce websites where we had a massive matrix, essentially a massive matrix of all these things that, yes, if it's shipping, if this and this product is purchased, then you have to use this type of packaging and purchase this type of shipping and so on and so forth. It's a complex. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set things up in a simple way. I'm going to set up shipping in a way where it is one flat rate. So we're just going to charge, say, $2 for every bag of coffee that gets sent. Now, when you're dealing with e-commerce, one thing people do not like is paying for shipping. And I do know personally that I know many people that do not like to pay for shipping. So if you can, you can actually get rid of this shipping issue just by including the price of shipping and make shipping free, and just add it into the payment, into the price of the product. So that's a little hack you can do there. So if you don't want to deal with shipping, we'll just make it, just offer free shipping and just put the price of shipping into the product. That's a thing that people do. All right, so there's a comment. Can you please do a video on SDC? So I guess that's single directory components, advanced tricks and tips. Yes, one day I will do that. Again, it's one of these things where I feel like, yeah, SDC still moving around a bit too much, and I haven't got my head fully around it. But yes, I will. That will be on the list. That'll be on the list. Now, to set up shipping in Drupal Commerce, we do have to download a module for that, and that is called Commerce Shipping. Pretty simple. Called just Commerce Shipping. So what I'll do is let me go ahead and download this module, and I'll jump over to Composer. Let's clear that. And because we're using DDev again, I'll type in DDev and then just type in Composer, and it's going to go ahead and download everything for us. And let's jump over here. Let's go to Extend and search for shipping and enable it. Then click on Install. And then just give that a moment. And let's go to Configuration. And we should see shipping. All right. So here we have package types, shipment types, and shipping methods. So first, let's go ahead and set up a shipping method. Let's click on here and let's use the plugin, which is flat rate per item. So I'll call this one just flat rate per item. That's what it is. And this one's just called flat rate. So this is what people see when they order things and they select their shipping. And the rate will be, let's put in $2, Australian dollars. And then again, with the conditions, you can configure things to apply shipping to certain product types, certain customers, variants, categories, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff. And this just shows you how powerful Drupal Commerce is. And you don't have to write custom code. Of course, there will be a point, I can guarantee it, if you are building a pretty complex solution, there's going to be a point where you're going to have to just, write custom code. It's Drupal, you have to write custom code eventually. But this is fairly straightforward. All we are going to do is set a flat rate per item. So if somebody purchases 2 bags of coffee, then it'll be $4. Okay, so we just want to charge per bag. So that's been all set up. And then click on save. Let's go back to our configuration. And now what we need to do is go to our variation. So let's go back to coffee. And then under traits, we need to select shippable, because the variant is shippable. So that is there. And we need to adjust our order type. So let's go back here and go to order types. And we need to enable on our order, this is important, we need to then enable shipping for this order. And it's going to use the shipping type. Again, it's fieldable, so you can chuck in any type of fields of default. And let's click on save. And the last change we need to do, so you can actually adjust, and this is pretty cool. So you can adjust the checkout flow. Because we enabled the shipping module, we get this shipping flow. But the only difference between default and shipping is that shipping has this shipping information. Now, I do apologize, I'm saying the word shipping a lot. Maybe you can play a drinking game and have a shot every single time I say shipping. The only difference is that this step, you have shipping right here. So what we can do is you can change the checkout flow for your order. And you can do that by going to order types and then scrolling all the way down to the bottom and then selecting a different flow. Or what you can do is simply come to the default checkout flow and then move shipping information all the way up. And then click on save. And so if we go back into default, it will be in between contact information and also shipping information. All right, so we've done that. And I do believe that you can set up your packaging. Let me just confirm and make sure. We're not going to worry about that. Let's just make sure the variance, we need to set anything up in the variance. Oh, let's put a weight here. 1 kilo. One kilo there. And let's also put in 1 kilo. Okay, so that's been all set up. Done. All right. Now, let's go back here. This test user has purchased a lot of coffee. Let's come back here. All right. So let's go ahead and select light roast. And you can see, of course, GST chucked on. That's okay. But let's put in, say, 2 items and click on update. And then go checkout. And you can straight away see that a flat rate of shipping has been added. If I change it to a different, so the Australian address, of course, is going to change it. So you can see here GST is getting added. But you can see that shipping now has been added because it's getting set at this step. But then automatically, you can see that if we select a US state, a US country, then we only get shipping, which is 24 Australian dollars, because there's 2 bags and it's $2 per shipment. So we can then go ahead and click on continue and then pay and complete purchase. And there we go. It's been purchased. All right. So now let's have a look and see what that looks on the back end. Okay. So if we go into here and then go to orders, we'll see this test user is purchasing a lot of coffee. We can go to view. And then from the options, we do get shipments right here. Okay. And if we click on edit, you can see tracking, but you can't see the state. Now, often with shipments, you do want to have a state where it's like ready for shipment or it's been shipped and so on and so forth. So what we can do, let's utilize this tab and let's go into our shipment type. And you can even configure it to send an email confirmation. But if we go to manage form display, you will see this state field. So let's move that up. So this state field is used to manage the different states between shipments. And if we go back here and refresh, you'll see that we now get a state, which is draft. But you'll see that on the table as well, if we refresh, there's nothing here. So what we need to do is go ahead and just edit the view. You can modify this whichever way you want. Go to states, and then instead of this form formatter, just select default. And now you can see draft. So what we can do is go edit and then set it to ready. And then hit save. Now it's ready. You do have this button up the top here called finalize shipment, but I was getting errors with it. So if I click on finalize shipment, it's pretty much saying something about access control. So it's one of those things that I don't know if it's compatibility issue with the Gin theme and things like that, but you can easily go ahead. Does it actually change it? No, it doesn't. But you can easily go ahead and just edit and then say, yep, it's ready. And then finally you can set it to shipped and then click on save. And then it has been shipped. And then if you come along in here and go to my account and orders, you should be able to see your order right here. You may have to adjust a few things here to actually see if it's been shipped. I don't think anything's been displayed, but again, this stuff needs to be customized. You do need to customize a bunch of stuff. But when it comes to shipping, you can see just how easy, well, let's be honest, there is a bit of configuration. And of course, if you are going to integrate with courier services, you need to make sure that there's a module for it. And also potentially you need to write that custom code yourself. So just be aware of that. Okay. Just be aware of that. Now, so far, we've been playing around with the test payments. Now let's take a look at using Stripe. So let's put in the ability to accept payments using a test Stripe account. So what I'll do is let's go ahead and jump over to, well, let's first of all download this. So I'll download the most recent version. So this is Stripe. And I'll clear this and I'll type in ddev. And I'll go ahead and download it. Let's just give that a moment. And we're done. All right, perfect. And let me just clear that. And if we jump over to here, extend, and type in, let's just enable Stripe. We're not going to worry about webhooks. So webhooks are used to when you make changes into Stripe to post back into your Drupal site. But because I'm using ddev and everything's locally, I won't be able to accept those webhooks. So we're not going to worry about that for now. So let's just click on install. And if we go to commerce, configuration, payment, You can configure a few Stripe settings, but most importantly, what I want to do is go to payment gateways, click on add, and let's add in a new gateway. All right, so I'll call this one Stripe. And you do have two options. You have the card element and you have the payment element. Card element is kind of like their legacy, and that is officially, I do believe it's deprecated. But they recommend that you use the Stripe payment element. Now, the authentication method, you do have Stripe Connect, but I'm going to just deal with API keys. And I'm going to leave it as test. And then below, you do have a few more options. You do have, what is it? You have the webhook. You also have how payment method usage happens and also capture, and then you can configure a few more items. And then, of course, right down below, you can have different payments for certain things. Now, to get the publishable key and secret, now, mind you, this is a test account. Here, I do have a test Stripe, so it's in test mode. So this is for one of my older Stripe accounts that I no longer use. And if you go into developers right here down at the bottom and you click on the API keys, you will see the secret and the key. And what I'm going to do is purely because I don't want to show keys, but they are test keys, so it's not that bad, but let me just copy over the keys. But if you, let me just copy over the keys, and I don't want it to be visible just in case I don't know how quick people can be. But what I'll do is I'll add in the publishable key, and annoyingly, it doesn't hide it in the system, and then click on save. All right, so let me bring that back. All right, cool. So I've popped that in. I've popped the keys into my payment gateway, and that is all ready to go. All right, so we have one comment. All right, I started watching this stream late, but I'm hoping you cover a complete order management journey. Post is being received. The site owner can change the status and yeah. Okay. Well, you can just go back and watch. I've been doing it bit by bit, but well, I've been kind of doing that bit by bit. But I will be probably doing that right now. But again, the order status really depends, like the whole journey really depends on what you're selling and things like that. Okay, so now we have Stripe set up. And what we can do is with our test account, come along in here. And again, our test account's buying a lot of coffee. So let's put in a few more items here. And let's put in dark roast. All right, 3 items. You can see here, it's purchasing a lot of coffee. You can see that tax has been added. And we go checkout. All right. So straight away, you can see right down at the bottom, because I've selected a US address, the GST isn't added, but we do have a flat rate of $6 right here. But now with our new Stripe account, we do get payment. Okay, so we can set our billing address. Let's just keep that as the same. So we select our payment, so our Stripe payment. You can call this something else, but you can change the label of it. Go to review. And now finally, we get our information here. So now we can add in our payment details. And I do believe, what is it for? What is a test account? I always forget. Test Stripe cards. There we go. So there are. So let me actually bring that over here. So if I go duplicate, it's good to know about the test. So here, you can see all of these test accounts. Now be aware, some of them are set up in a way to fail, which is a good way. So you do have a whole bunch of ones that are country specific, and then you have ones that actually return specific, specific errors. So let's scroll all the way up, and I'll copy over this one, for example. Copy that across, and then you want to add in a future date. 1, 2, 3. And then it goes ahead, and now you can complete your purchase. And if everything is said and done, it's going to work nicely, and the purchase has been completed. Okay. Now let's jump back into here. Let's go back into our order. We'll go to orders, and we can see our order right here. And we can edit any items. And you can see the shipment has been added. And then under shipments, you can see that it's set to draft, and you can come along here and then go through the standard states of ready. And then finally, you can set it to shipped. That means that the shipment has been sent. And then under payments, you can see that, yes, there's been a Stripe payment, and the state of that payment is complete and it's set to Stripe. And then you have this remote ID. So this is a Stripe payment ID. So if we jump over to Stripe, you will see, if we go to transactions, you see a whole bunch of test ones right here, but you can see right here, $66, that one came through. So this is the test account that I just sent, and you can see details right here and all this type of information. And so you can straight away see in Stripe that payment has come through. If you go to home, you can probably see an account. Yep. Oh, great. We made a bit of money today. Now, what happens when you want to refund people? Because this is another thing that can happen. So as I mentioned, we haven't set up webhooks, so we can refund them from Stripe, but then Stripe, when it sends, but Stripe won't be able to update the content in Drupal because it needs to have a webhook for that, and I haven't set that up. But what we can do is we can jump into payments and click on this refund, and that does work. So if we click on refund, let's just imagine he's like, well, the person, let's imagine I've purchased 3 bags of coffee, and I'm like, and for some reason I don't want all that coffee. I can come along and contact the site owner of the shop and say, actually, can you give me a refund? So then what can happen is click on refund, then you have the refund amount, and then you can go ahead and refund it. And now that's been fully refunded, and the state is set to refunded. And if we jump over here and go to our transactions, you will see that now the transaction is set to refunded. So this was our actual one. You can see now that it has been refunded right here. So there is a lot. There's a lot you can do when it comes with Drupal Commerce and Stripe. And it integrates pretty well, actually, pretty well. So let me take a look and see. I think that is it. So there you go. So in the last, hour and 15 minutes, we were able to create product attributes. So if we come along in here, we were able to create our product attributes with different variations, set up tax, set up shipping, and at the same time also set up a test Stripe integration. And as I mentioned, many times, Drupal Commerce is best suited for situations where you need to build out custom e-commerce functionality. If you want to just if you just want to sell something online, there's hundreds of SaaS platforms out there. And I would recommend that you potentially look at those as well. Of course, if you want to use Drupal for it. But you need to stop and think sometimes, as developers, like I've had people come to me many times and people have asked me, should I use Drupal for this? And I could have easily taken the job and just built it in Drupal, But a lot of the times I've actually pushed back and I've said, well, no, actually, I recommend that you go with this solution because it's a better solution and it's easier to maintain, and you won't have to pay a developer a certain amount of, per hour. Because at the end of the day, my job as a web developer isn't to just use Drupal for everything. It is to solve a problem, and that is it. And for me, I'll use Drupal to solve certain problems, or I'll use WordPress to solve other problems, or I'll use Laravel, or I'll use a SaaS application to solve it. I don't care. For me, the job is to solve a problem. And so Drupal Commerce has a very unique set of features if you want to build custom e-commerce functionality. So yeah, take a look at that. Take a look at Drupal Commerce. I do plan to perhaps do a few more videos on this, but for now, this is the start for the e-commerce. And so as I mentioned also as well, in the beginning, I do have a WebWash Premium community. If you want to learn more about it, just head over to webwash.net/premium. And I do have a lifetime access of 99 euros where you can get access to a whole bunch of videos of the live streams ad-free and also to the community. So that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal, head over to webwash.net. If you also have any questions, please leave a comment. And if you have any ideas for other live streams, please let me know. Sometimes it's a pain to come up with ideas, but I have to figure out next week's ideas. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. All right, so we've got a few more comments here. All right, can we also send notifications to customers on each stage? Yeah, well, that needs to be okay. So if the email notifications, that needs to be configured. So does Drupal Commerce plug in with Stripe or Shopify? Yes, it integrates with Stripe. That's what I just demoed using Commerce Stripe. Does it integrate? Now, when you say plug in with Shopify, what exactly are you referring to with Shopify? Is it pulling in products or Shopify payments? Because there's a fair bit there. I'm not aware of that. So maybe there is. I'm sure there's Commerce Shopify. Is that how you spell it? No, it's not Shopify. Drupal Commerce Shopify. Shopify, Commerce Shopify. Let's have a look. What does this do? No. Kind of. No, don't worry. No, don't be sorry about joining late. You can watch this live stream later. You can actually seek back. No, I just covered, Shopify. I just covered Stripe integration just now. Yeah, payments and pulling products. Well, then at that point, there is this module for e-commerce. Yeah, when it comes to payments and pulling in products, well, then you really shouldn't be using Drupal Commerce for that. You can just integrate that functionality yourself, really, because then you're integrating and pulling in products through like a feeds module, and then payments. I'm not a Shopify expert, but then with payments, would you push them off to Shopify to do that and then come back? Or does Shopify have similar functionality like Stripe and like the Stripe payment elements? See that I'm not that I'm not 100% sure on. But that's something to look at in the future. So anyway, well, no, thank you. All right, no, thank you. Thanks for joining, everyone. That was fun. Where was that? Oh, I see that. No, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to this, all right. So, sorry, here we go. Yeah, payments pulling in. I suppose you can add a field to Shopify pay button. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, you could add a field. Yeah, that is an interesting one about Shopify. I do think that there is a need to integrate it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be curious to know, you could actually build that yourself. Yeah, I'll be curious. Because you could have a blog, right? That's or like a full, a full content management system, of course, built in Drupal. But then to sell products, you want to sell them through Shopify. And then you want to be able to promote those products and embed them into a Drupal site and then have a buy now button, which then redirects them to Shopify. That might be a pretty good idea for a like a live stream build session. How many hours how long would that build session be? But then I need a Shopify site to actually test it on. Well, funny enough, my wife actually has a Shopify site, and she's selling products on that. And I was thinking of using that as an example of integrating that with Drupal, and then or like migrating that stuff over to Drupal, not permanently, but just using that as an example because it's got real life products on it. So yeah, but it would be interesting to see if you could set up some type of MCP integration with Shopify and your Drupal site. So if you can set up an MCP, because I feel like MCP now is kind of like the new REST. It's all about just integrating together. That's an interesting thing to think about. Anyway, oh, there was also a good comment about just further above about notifications and things like that. Yeah, notifications is something that I'd be interested to look into a bit more. It does do basic notifications. So where is it? Where is it? Where is it? What is the DDEV status? I always forget the path. So you've got this mail pit. So if we take a look here, so you'll see that a bunch of confirmation emails were sent from here. And if you, let's go back here to here. Where is it? Configuration, shipping. Was it shipping type? You can set up a confirmation. So now if I go back to orders, shipped, shipping. So let's just change this. Oh no, that's already been sent. So let me select one that hasn't been sent. There is no shipping there. Okay, let me quickly just purchase something. Again, back here. Checkout. Put in a test account, whatever. All right, that's been done. So now I can see that an order's been sent out. That's sent out to me. And if we go back here in orders, and then set this to ready. Why is that not being sent? And then I think we need to do, oh, maybe it sends it when it's complete. Then it's shipped. Oh, there we go. So then once it's completed, then it sends it when it is shipped. So that's been configured. See, this is where using a combination of ECA to handle emails. No, that's a good one. Maybe, yeah, notifications. That's huge. See, I knew with like once I started covering e-commerce, it's going to be a massive thing. The next set of videos around e-commerce I want to do like is being able to purchase content, like just be able to purchase access to pages and also files online as well. Do all that type of stuff. All right, yes, and vice versa. If you manage all your products on various sites in Drupal, then I'd like to push those out to Spotify or Shopify. What? I want to. Oh, that's interesting. Interested in live stream on absolute cheapest way. to set up a Drupal site without shared hosting. Oh, you can't have cheapest and without shared hosting. No, interesting. What is it? BPS Hertz. What is it? Hertz there? Hertz. I forgot that. What's it called? This one. That's right. I think this one, when it comes to hosting or plans, this is probably the cheapest you can get. Yeah, it's interesting with manage all my products, various Drupal sites. Then I'd like to push those into. Well, you have a lot of requirements there, mate. You want absolute integration with absolutely everything. See, at that point, yeah, I mean that will be an interesting project. That'd be an interesting project to work on pushing out all those products. Yeah, but Drupal is cost prohibitive to most because of the hosting cost. Yeah, I mean, you can still. Oh, that is interesting. I have set up Drupal sites on shared hosting, but yeah, I mean, you could probably set up a single site on one of these VPSs. Like when you think about it, this one. Well, this one's based in Germany. So if I select, what is it, US? Well, which ones are the US ones? Yeah, so if you select, say, one of these, 8 gig of RAM, and you have 4 CPUs. That is pretty good. Mind you, that's euros. What's that in? Of course, I've got euros here because I'm in Croatia and I've got 25% VAT on that. But if we, what is it, US dollars, and save that so we can see it, be more consistent. Where is it? Here. Yeah, US dollars. That ain't bad, actually. 23 a month. If you can just set up, what is it? DDEV. So DDEV does have experimental support for using it to host your Drupal sites. And one of the maintainers of DDEV says that he does it. And I've been looking at playing around with that and actually hosting a Drupal site. Because yeah, if I could just set up something using like a Docker images and just run it and set things up. But then at the same time, you need to then maintain it yourself. It's the annoying part. Or if there was like, what is that, Laravel Forge or something where it's like a Laravel Forge is a platform to then host your Laravel sites, but then you purchase the hosting for it and it does everything for you. That's kind of what I want. And there are platforms out there that do that. But that is an interesting one. When it comes to hosting, I've also mentioned that as well. Drupal needs decent hosting that's cheaper. Like I don't want to spend $50 a month on hosting. I'm sorry, but if you want, like, I understand that, yeah, for large projects, fine, you can spend a lot. You can have a whole DevOps team manage one Drupal site. But if I'm using Drupal, I'm not going to spend $50 a month to host a Drupal site. It's annoying. I'd rather spend that on, AI tools. I don't know. Yeah. All right, let's finish up. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. It was fun. Always have a few good chats after the fact. Yeah, it would. Absolutely. 100%. Cheaper hosting would make Drupal more mainstream. Absolutely. Yeah, Netlify is free. That is true, but I try and avoid using free products now because I've just been burned so many times. Nothing is free forever. It's like SaaS prices keep going up. Everything keeps going up. Well, yeah. Yeah, people I tend to go more headless, but I still think that there is room for Drupal as a backend. The whole conversation about Drupal on the front end, that's a whole other conversation. That seems to be now up in the air on where it's going. Is it going to go headless? Is it going to, people are talking about, some people don't like Twig. You have the whole Drupal canvas. You have headless, you have Drupal sites that use Next.js on the front end, that use Nuxt on the front end. What is the Vue version of it? So, and then HTMX is coming into Drupal. I still think as a backend, there's still room in the market for Drupal as a backend tool, especially its fieldable, its field system, the fact that it's proper open source and that governments use it. It's got a good revisioning system. It's got a good the revisioning system's powerful. Being able to have a live revision and a draft revision on at the same time is pretty good. There's a lot of things that you could get with these SaaS applications, but they just charge so much and they charge per seat. And if you're dealing with government, they don't want to, I know in Australia, they don't want to have to pay they don't like to pay for licenses that are not in Australian dollars. Because from a budget standpoint, the price always fluctuates because of the exchange rate. So they like things to be in Australian dollars. Yes, that is very true. Yes, yeah. I've worked with companies that decouple and then realize it's just a pain to deal with. Absolutely, absolutely. I've had this running joke where I've worked on a few Drupal sites where I was the only backend dev and we had like 5 front end devs, and they always blamed whenever there was a configuration, whenever there was a problem, it was like, oh, it's a back end problem. It's a back end problem. And it was always a front end. But yeah, that's it. Like, still, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still much quicker if I was to just build a Drupal site than to kind of separate that out. And if you have a look at a lot of the Laravel, like Laravel and also Symfony, you have, what is it, Symfony live components as well. They're mixing in a lot of things. And also what Symfony, no, what is it? Laravel has Livewire or something? You have these like mixture of everything in kind of like PHP, but where you just write your code in PHP and it integrates nicely. And that's what you want. That's what you want. Yeah, that Drupal Nuxt. There's also, what is it? I forgot the name of it. What is it? Rules. The guy that runs the rules module. You do have this one, is it? This is another Nuxt. I think this one's based off Nuxt. Orientation. I think this one's it. So this one's up to date. And yeah, I mean, these guys have maintained some pretty cool stuff in Drupal in the past. So this is something I want to look at. And for me personally, as somebody that wants to learn the front end a lot as well, it's kind of like, do I focus on React? Do I focus on Vue? At this point, I just use both. Like, they're very similar. But this option will be pretty cool to play with. I really want to have a play. Really want to have a play with this and see how far I can get this going. Yeah, I'll chuck this in the chat. Yeah, check this one out. And this one's maintained. Yeah, I've just chucked it into the chat. Check it out. But that's the thing. Like, when it comes to customization, as soon as you use front end, as soon as you use a separate front end, then it's kind of like, well, then what are we using Drupal for? Because you lose Drupal's competitive advantage. Views, views, the ability to create custom views, block system, all that goes out the window. So it's, it's give and take, give and take. Oh, exactly. They are. Yeah, Vue, React, they're pretty much the same. And I think with AI these days, like you can easily jump between them. It's like, I want to implement this Vue component in React. How, build it for me and just use it. As long as you understand the basic understand the full concept of it, then you're good. Then you are good. But yeah, this one is one I do want to play with. Oh, Shad CN. This one's awesome. Wait, what's this? I even got a Shad CN version of it as well. Oh, I need to play around with this. I do need to play around with this. Give it a go. Hats off. This is actually pretty good documentation. Like I've known of this project, but I keep looking at it every few months. And yeah, see, handles redirects, but does it handle? Yes. Yes. Integrate. See, that's it. Integrates with the redirect module. Integrates with the redirect module. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Authentication. Again, it's one of these things that I just don't have to build this myself. Caching, block layout. Now, does it integrate with web form? Unified hosting. Maisie, Pantheon. Yeah, see all of these hosting providers. I haven't used Upsun. I've used Pantheon and Maisie. They're all expensive. I mean, this one, yeah, Upsun has a absolute the pricing is, I don't even know how to use a pricing form. Like it's not just a simple thing. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to queries, I think nowadays with the use of Redis caching, it's pretty quick. Back in the day, yes, queries used to be an issue, but Drupal's gotten way better at entity caching and the caching system in Drupal, especially, and the block level caching is pretty good. You wouldn't have that many problems with performance issues and queries. That's been my experience, especially since Drupal 8 and yeah, the whole Drupal's caching system, because it essentially caches every single element on the page, even for logged in users. Now that can be a pain to deal with when you have to deal with caching problems, but if you understand it, you can actually, Drupal can scale pretty well. And I think it's just going to get faster and faster because I know PHP is getting faster and faster as well. And so you're not going to hit that many problems with that, as long as you have decent hosting and you are using like Memcache or Redis to cache a lot of things. It can be very quick. Not like WordPress, I know that. This I really want to play around with. I think this is due for a live stream. One of these, eh? This is a pretty cool example. This is using, what is it, code spaces. So that's the GitHub stuff. Well, yes, but true, mostly using Cloudflare. Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to mention. If 99.9% of your audience is anonymous, you put Drupal behind a CDN or a reverse proxy like Varnish. I think Varnish changed their name, but yeah, you essentially do that. So my rule of thumb is anonymous users shouldn't even touch Drupal. Drupal should not even be bootstrapped at all. Of course, it complicates the front end build. You have to think in a certain way to understand that, yes, when it comes to dynamic content, there is no dynamic content unless you do everything through JavaScript. And that's why whenever I work with teams, they're like, oh yeah, we want this to be dynamic. Well, you have to do it with JavaScript. But my thing for performance is that if you're dealing with, if you're dealing with anonymous users, all of your anonymous users shouldn't even touch Drupal. Should all be through a CDN. No, there's even more than that. What are you talking about? I know, yeah. And trust me, when I've worked on large projects, every week I'll be dealing with caching problems. Every week. Because, yeah, you would have the CDN. So we'd use CloudFront. Was it? Yeah, CloudFront on AWS. So it could be the CloudFront CDN. It could be Varnish. Okay, that's on the server. It could be PHP, because PHP sometimes, you like have opcode cache as well for code. It could then be Drupal's caching. It can be many levels. It could be many. It could be four. It could be an epic amount of levels. And you could have a caching problem where one dodgy cache tag where you've overridden a template in a random component that's 3 levels deep on a paragraph stops the whole page from caching. That's happened. That's happened to me. Or it doesn't. Oh, then yeah, of course, then you have load balancers. And that's happened to me where I've had issues where either a page cache wasn't invalidated correctly because of some dodgy bit of tweak template, which I may or may not have put in, because it's as simple as just accidentally not dealing with cache tags properly. Yeah, and dealing with that stuff. But that's what keeps us employed. Kept me employed when I was on that project. But it was like every single week, without a doubt, every single week there was like, Ivan, are you working on this ticket? Yeah, it's a caching problem. And they're like, why is it? Well, the reason why is because this one paragraph component, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, anyway, it's epic. Anyway, there we go. I'll leave you to it. Anyway, I need to head off. End up having a longer chat. I like these post chats. It's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks a lot. I'm going to head off. See you all later next week. Just have to come up with next week's idea. Cool. Oh, yeah, Livewire. Well, exactly. Yeah, I just saw here. That's it, Livewire. Yeah, thanks a lot. All right. As mentioned here, Livewire and Inertia. Yep. Need this in Drupal. Oh, absolutely. All right.